All right. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I am here today with Dominique Mcintyre from the Belleville area. Really excited to introduce Dominique. She is a powerhouse agent, has a team in Belleville, and she has just recently joined us at EXP. And we're here today to find out why and find out a little bit more about Dominique. So, welcome, Dominique, to our short podcast this morning.
Thanks, Pierre. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be on EXP now too.
Nice, nice. So you're excited. So you're about a week in now, right? And you've probably gotten all kinds of emails and all kinds of switches and everything else, right? So we'll get into that in a minute. But basically, if you could tell us a little bit about your background and where you came from and your real estate history, and so that people just know a little bit more about Dominique.
Yeah. So I started in real estate when I was 20, which was 6 years ago now. And I joined an independent brokerage and built my name from there. Initially, I chose an independent brokerage because I really wanted to brand myself, and I found that was a great way to do it. In hindsight, I love all of the offerings that EXP has as a bigger brokerage in terms of support, and we'll get into all of that. But yeah, my initial decision was an independent brokerage, and I actually lasted there for 6 years. It was fabulous, built a team, and then it got to a point where it was like, okay, what's next? And I feel like that is probably a pain point for many realtors, where you're hitting that 5-6 year mark and you're like, okay, where do I go now? Like I'm here, what do I do? I've done like over $100 million in volume in the last 6 years.
Wow.
And I got to the point where I knew I wanted to have a team. That was always a goal of mine. I wasn't sure, if that meant in terms of my own brokerage. Ultimately decided that wasn't what I wanted to do. So that's why I looked into EXP further after we know Pat had been telling me about the company for years. But ultimately, that's what it came down to is, okay, I have my team now, but how can we grow my team? And EXP, as we know, loves teams, and they love, supporting that atmosphere. So I feel like it was absolutely the best decision we made.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. So when you started to build your team, right? What was the first? Because a lot of people ask me this question about, when is the right time for me to start building my team? When did you feel it was the best time for you to start a team? Like, were you just getting so busy that you just needed help, or when did you know it was the right time?
So basically, it came a point where I wasn't able, like, truthfully, I was not able to give everyone 100% service, and I'm obsessed with my clients. I love making sure that it's like A++ service every time. So when I was noticing like, shit, I don't have time to do that, I wasn't okay with that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, how can I duplicate myself and then, service these clients how I want to? So that's what it came down to. So definitely will be a slow growth because I want to ensure that everyone is duplicates, which doesn't happen overnight. But I think with the services and support EXP has, it'll definitely help me to grow those people quicker.
Yeah. Now you're probably a lot like most people that start their teams. I mean, I know when I started my team years ago, I always felt like nobody could do it as good as me. Right. I would never want to delegate, and I wanted my clients to just deal with me. And I think that was more of an ego thing that I had to get over, because I mean, I found out real quick that, there was actually people that could do it better than me. So maybe I should start delegating. But when building a team, right, your first hire, now, did you hire an assistant first, or did you go with a buyer's agent first?
I had an assistant first. Yeah.
Assistant. Okay. Because some people actually make the mistake of hiring a buyer's agent first.
Right.
And the problem with that is that when you do that, now all of a sudden, you've got so much work, and you end up doing the paperwork, you end up doing all the admin and controlling the whole thing. Whereas if you hire an assistant first, then that, it actually makes you busier sales wise. And then that's when you can bring in a buyer's agent. And now you've got a couple of buyer's agents, right?
Yep. So they actually then buy and list. So they can do it all. But they're fabulous. And then we actually have a new office admin starting next week too. So she'll be able to help the whole team, which is fabulous.
Nice, 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 nice. All right. So you build a team, things are going. Now you're at that, 5, 6 year point. You're starting to figure out, okay, what's next, right? How do I get, I don't know, were you thinking, how do I get to the next level? Was that what the
Yes,
conversation in your
yeah,
head?
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I
Yeah.
feel like in certain atmospheres, you can only go so far.
Yeah.
And even if you're top agent, like you're you're only top agent of that pool. So it's
Yeah.
like you have to expand the pool so then you
Yeah.
can yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. You can only get that award so many times, right? It's like, okay, what do I do now? So,
Yeah.
all right. So okay, you make the switch to EXP, right? Which wasn't something that you did overnight. Like this was
No.
not a quick decision for you. Probably, and that's great, right? So, I mean, some people take longer than others. But when you saw the model, when we first introduced it to you, I think you got it. I think you understood it. I think you liked it, but your timing wasn't right. And, you still felt like you were growing and doing good things, right? So what was the deciding factor now? Because I mean, our first conversations were over a year ago, right?
Yeah.
So, obviously you guys, you and my son, Pat, you do business together and things like that. So you stayed in touch and everything. And then obviously you saw him growing and, the conversations kept going, but what was this deciding factor and what changed, right, over that time period?
So to go back to the initial meeting, I definitely was intrigued and I loved everything about the company, the model. I will say the thing that held me back, honestly, was emotion. So I think that's probably something a lot of people can relate to too, is you get really comfortable in your space and you're comfortable with, your work family that you have.
Mhm.
But ultimately I was able to recognize that that was holding me back. So for anyone, who may have just heard you say, okay, we met years ago, why didn't you do it then? That's 100% why.
Yeah.
So the model's perfect though. I love it. So I think it ultimately came to a point though where, I had to put my emotions and my feelings aside and make that jump for growth.
Make a business decision instead of
Yeah.
yeah. But it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? Jay Kinder always says that. And I knew that when I first saw it, it was like, oh man, this, like, I was an owner of an independent brokerage. So I was actually scared. I was actually nervous, right? Because I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good, right? And it was actually Pat who talked me into it, because he's like, whether you like it or not, this is happening. It's whether you
Yeah.
want to jump on board and build this thing, and get yourself to that next level, or do you want to sit back and watch everybody else, right? So it's nice that we maintain that contact. And now, obviously there's some new renewed excitement in your business, right? You're building something, and now you got some big plans. So maybe you can tell us about your plan, or are we allowed to talk about that yet?
Yes, no, we can. So we've been working on opening an office in Belleville,
Nice.
which, if anyone watching this knows, it's a cloud-based brokerage.
Yeah.
So for me, though, it was still really important to have that home base, which obviously you can appreciate too, having
Yep.
a branch.
Yep.
So I thought it would be unique, and I feel like it's still a great way for me to, utilize all of the services that EXP offers, but also still have my own brick and mortar space.
Nice.
So we're really excited. We're hoping to open for mid-March. So we've been grinding a lot. I've been getting my painter's clothes on every night and getting over there. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been busy. So you've made the switch, you're making all the changes. Now you're opening an office. So
yeah.
there's exciting things happening for this year, right? Let me ask you, if you had any advice for somebody who's looking to start a team, right? They're at that point where they're doing a lot of deals, they're working a lot of hours, and they're trying to figure out, okay, I need to leverage myself, right? What would what's the best advice that you would give to somebody who's looking to start a team?
Firstly, I would say to kind of nail down your pain points of why you think it's important to start a team. And then from there, kind of decide who that person may be. So I think a lot of times paperwork becomes such a big nuisance. So it's
Mhm.
not necessarily another agent you need to bring on. It may be like an administrative role. And then once you have that going, then kind of reassess, see what you need to see if there's still, you can only be in one place at once. So
Yeah.
it ultimately comes down to that. And if you're finding, you're being pulled in so many different directions and you can't be there, that to me was like okay, let's go. Like you got to share. And it's hard too, because ultimately, like your first year starting a team, like your revenue's down because
Yeah.
you're sharing leads, you're growing, you're training, it's a lot. So you also have to like selflessly be able to give that experience to someone else.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I found, so when I hired my first assistant, my following year, my business doubled because
right.
at the time I had a coach and the coach had said, okay, what you got to do is make a list of every single thing that you do in a day, right? Or in a week, right? Track all that. And then he says, I want you to cross off all the things that you hate doing. Right. So basically, and also the money making activities. You want to be doing the money making activities. So you could rank all those activities A, B, or C. And basically you're delegating, 70% of the B activities and all the C activities to an assistant. And then you're
Right.
doing the A activities, which are money making activities. Right.
Right.
So then when we did that, that allowed me more time to go out and sell. And now that I was able to sell more, now I needed some help. And now I had to start handing off deals. And then basically we grew and grew from there. Now you're growing your team. The next move is now to grow an EXP team, because with EXP, we're allowed to, go out and attract agents from not only in your city, but all across the country. I was just telling you, I was on a call this morning with a group from Portugal, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
And having an independent brokerage, I would have never been able to build a business in Portugal, right?
Right.
But because of the contacts and the systems that we have at EXP, I'm allowed to do that. So now, if people are interested in EXP, or we had this quick conversation too about, there's a lot of people asking questions, a lot of people going, oh, wow, you need to move, whatever. So what would you suggest to those people, that are looking at it and looking at Dominique and going, holy geez, she just made the move. What's going on over there? What would you recommend for those people?
I would say don't wait.
Mhm.
Um, don't let your emotions hold you back. If you're thinking of making a bigger change for growth, don't put it off, because you'll regret it. And I would say that is a big regret of mine, was, holding myself back. I wish I would have done this when we met earlier. um, so yeah, if you're thinking of making the switch, don't wait and call me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is the thing, right? When people are looking to make a switch, and I talk to so many agents every day about, when they are making the switch, and it's very emotional, right? Because they feel a lot of loyalty, like you did to your brokerage, right? You felt loyal to them because that's where you started and they helped you and everything else. But at the end of the day, I tell people is, you should be loyal to your family first, right? And this is better for you and your family. And, they're the people that you should be loyal to. And you're doing them a disservice by not doing this, right? Because you're going to help, everything that you build today, when you do decide to have kids or whatever, or even your spouse, you can pass down your passive income and stuff to your spouse or to your kids, right? So something that we're building today, which is interesting for me. I know you said you don't have kids yet, but I do. And what I'm building today, I can leave to them. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas with my real estate business, I couldn't do anything with it. Right. So
And not even just that, but like the retirement benefits that we'll have because of this company are also huge. I know
yeah.
that might sound silly because I'm so young, but I have an Excel spreadsheet on my desktop of retirement plan. So
What's that going to look like? Right. That's
yeah,
awesome. That's
so this,
awesome.
it'll exponentially change that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The revenue sharing part is, when we attract other agents, is very, very lucrative. And it's, I'm proof, right? Like I'm now working from Arizona for the winter,
Yeah.
I'm allowed to do this, like having conversations with great agents like you from all over. Like I was with somebody from Portugal earlier, and I'm sitting in Arizona. Right. So that's the cool thing about technology and where our company is going. We are the fastest growing real estate company in history for a reason. And it's because of great people like you. And this is what I love, is that we're attracting some of the top agents in the industry, right? Why are the top agents like you coming over to us?
Yeah.
There's got to be something good about it.
Yeah.
There's got to be something good about it. So, anyways, I'm really excited to be partnered with you. Going to be working with you, and we're right next to each other. We're a half hour apart or whatever, and so it's going to be great to have you on board. If anybody's looking for information about EXP, reach out to Dominique or her team. Ask your questions, get your questions answered, and we're all here to help you. And if it's for you, great. if you know, we'll continue the conversation. If it's not for you, then at least you'll know why we're the fastest growing company in history. That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks for coming on today, Dominique. I know you're busy
Awesome.
and appreciate your time and look forward to working with you.
Okay, thanks, Pierre. Enjoy the sun.
I will. Thanks.